Zev sat in a dim lecture hall, his red-black fur bristling slightly as he adjusted his posture on the cold bench. Around him, the hum of students filled the air, clicks, chirps, and low rumbles from a dozen different species. He was a Vulpera, a race known for their sharp teeth, triangular ears, and agility, though he didn't feel particularly agile right now. His tail twitched as he waited for Professor Vana to start the class. She was late again, which wasn't unusual for a Serpethus like her. Her kind preferred solitude, so teaching a room full of curious minds seemed like an odd choice for her. Still, Zev admired her. She had a reputation across Zoryn for understanding species no one else bothered to study. When Vana finally slithered in, her 5 eyes glinted under the artificial light. Her long, pointed tongue flicked out, brushing one eye, then another, a nervous habit Zev had noticed early on. She didn't waste time with greetings. "What does it mean to bond?" she asked, her voice sharp and deliberate. The question hung in the air, and Zev felt a spark of curiosity ignite inside him. No one answered right away. A few students tapped at their digital pads, searching for definitions, but Vana pressed on. "And what is family?" "Not the textbook version. The real thing." Zev glanced at Tyner, seated 2 rows ahead. The small, feathered student was already smirking, his spiny plumes quivering with smugness. Tyner was top of the class, barely ahead of Zev and never missed a chance to prove it. Zev clenched his jaw, determined not to let Tyner outshine him today. Vana's tongue darted out again, this time licking 3 eyes in quick succession. She was uncomfortable, Zev could tell, but she didn't back down. "You're all xenobiologists," she said. "You study life. But none of you can answer this. So let me give you something to chew on." She tapped a hidden button on her podium, and a holographic screen flickered to life. An image appeared, a bipedal creature with fur only on its head, 2 arms, and a flat face with small lips. "This," Vana said, "is Homo sapiens sapiens. Humans, they call themselves. And they are the key to those questions." Zev leaned forward, ears perking up. He'd heard of humans, vague rumors about a reckless species from a distant system, but nothing solid. Vana's voice grew steadier. "I've spent 150 cycles studying life across the galaxy. No species compares to them. They bond with anything, objects, strangers, even predators that could rip them apart. They'll die for someone they just met if they decide that person's worth it." A low murmur rippled through the room. Tyner snorted, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Sounds like a bunch of animals," he said, his voice dripping with disdain. "Bonding with predators? That's not intelligence. That's insanity." Zev shot him a glare, but Tyner didn't notice, or didn't care. Vana's tongue flicked out once, a sign she was annoyed, but she ignored him. "You're wrong," she said flatly. "They are not just passionate. They are contradictory. They love deeper than a Vaxxer brood mother, hate fiercer than a Clion warlord, and laugh, yes, laugh, in ways I've never heard anywhere else. They are weak on their own, but together? No armada dares challenge this system they've claimed." Zev's mind raced. He'd never heard Vana talk like this, so intense, so personal. She wasn't just reciting facts. She knew these humans. "I was there," she continued, her voice dropping. "Cycle 47,592. My home station sent a distress call when invaders hit. No one answered, except a human ship. They didn't hesitate. They rammed the enemy fleet, blew themselves up to save us. Self-sacrifice for a species they didn't even know." She paused, letting that sink in. "I was a kid then. That's when I decided to study them." The room went quiet. Even Tyner stopped smirking. Zev felt a chill run down his spine, not fear, but something else. Awe, maybe. Vana straightened up, her eyes locking onto the class. "You're all long-lived species. 300 years, some of you. I'm giving you an assignment. 50 years among the humans on Terra Nova. Live with them, learn from them. Figure out what family really means. Then bring that knowledge back to your worlds. Who knows? Maybe we'll all be better for it. Zev's heart pounded. 50 years was nothing to a Vulpera, but this was huge. He raised his clawed hand, tail stilling as he spoke. Professor, the texts don't say anything else about family. Can you tell us what you mean? Vana's tongue froze mid-flick, and then she made a sound, a weird, wheezing noise Zev couldn't place. Later, he'd learn it was her attempt at a human laugh. You'll see, she said. Humans don't fit in books. You have to meet them. Tyner raised his hand next, his tone sharp. Why waste time on them? They sound like a liability, chaotic, emotional. We've got better things to study. Vana's eyes narrowed. Because they are the only species that can teach you what I'm asking. You'll understand when you're knee-deep in their lives. Or you won't. Your choice. Tyner huffed, crossing his feathered arms, but Zev barely noticed. His mind was already on Terra Nova, on these humans who'd sacrifice everything for strangers. You're handpicked, Vana added, pointing at the class. I chose every one of you. Don't let me down. Zev felt a surge of pride and pressure. Vana's faith in him meant something. He wasn't sure why, but he trusted her. She'd seen humans up close, lived with them, and come back changed. If she thought this mattered, he'd do it. Class ended, and Zev stayed behind as the others filed out. Tyner lingered too, tossing a barb his way. You're really buying this nonsense, Zev? 50 years for some soft-skinned freaks. Zev bared his teeth, a low growl rumbling in his throat. Maybe you're scared you won't get it, Tyner. I will. Tyner laughed, a harsh, chirping sound. We'll see who's laughing when they drag you down with them. Zev didn't reply. He didn't need to. Tyner could mock him all he wanted, but Zev was hooked. Vana's words echoed in his head, bond with anything, die for anyone. What kind of species lived like that? He didn't know yet, but he'd find out. 50 years sounded like a small price to pay for answers. As he left the hall, his claws clicked against the floor, each step carrying him closer to a journey he couldn't imagine. Terra Nova was waiting, and so were the humans. Zev strapped himself into the ship's harness, his claws fumbling with the unfamiliar buckles. The vessel hummed as it prepared to launch from Zoryn, a low vibration rattling his bones. Around him, the other students, 20 in all, settled into their seats, some chittering nervously, others staring blankly ahead. Tyner sat across from him, his feathered arms crossed, a smirk plastered on his face. Hope you're ready to waste 50 years, Tyner muttered, just loud enough for Zev to hear. Zev ignored him, focusing on the mission. Terra Nova was months away, even with the fastest ship Zoryn tech could muster. He wasn't about to let Tyner ruin it before it started. The ship lurched, engines roaring as it punched through Zoryn's atmosphere. Zev's ears flattened against his head, and his tail curled tight under the seat. He'd traveled before, but never this far. Vana had briefed them for days, human customs, their weird bonding habits, their history of reckless courage. They'll surprise you, she'd said, her tongue flicking only once, a rare sign of calm. Keep your eyes open. Zev intended to. He wanted answers, not just for Vana, but for himself. Months passed in a blur of lectures and cramped quarters. Then, one day, the ship's alarms blared. Zev jolted awake, heart pounding. Proximity alert, the captain's voice crackled over the comms. Human patrol approaching. Zev unbuckled and rushed to the viewport with the others. A sleek, massive ship slid into view, its hull glinting like polished metal. It dwarfed their vessel, bristling with cannons that looked ready to level a planet. Before anyone could react, a voice cut through the comms, crisp, confident, human. This is Sara, Terra Nova Patrol. State your business. Vana handled the exchange, her tone steady as she explained their research mission. Sara's response came quick. Cleared to dock. I'll meet you aboard. Strap in, it's gonna be a ride. Zev barely had time to sit before their ship jolted, docking tubes locking into place. Vana picked 3 students to join her, Zev, Tyner, and a slimy, shape-shifting classmate named Lore. They crossed into the human ship, and Zev's jaw dropped. A small hovercraft waited, piloted by a human woman, Sara. She was short, with dark hair tied back and a grin that showed too many teeth. Hop in, she said, patting the seats. Let's move. Zev climbed aboard, Tyner muttering beside him. Lore oozed into place, solidifying just enough to fit. Sara gunned the engine, and the craft shot forward so fast Zev's tongue lolled out, flapping in the wind. His fur stood on end, and his tail thrashed wildly. Tyner squawked, clutching the harness, while Lore's stink sack burst, filling the air with a rancid whiff. Sara laughed, a loud, barking sound, and swerved the craft upside down, looping through the corridor. Woohoo, she shouted, grinning wider. Zev's stomach flipped, but he couldn't help it, he liked her already. The ride ended with a bone-rattling stop. Zev stumbled out, legs wobbly, while Tyner glared daggers at Sara. Lore was a puddle, jiggling like he'd been shaken too hard. Sara hopped out, still smiling, and put a hand on Zev's arm. You okay? Sorry, didn't think about how you'd handle speed. Her touch was warm, warmer than he'd expected, and Zev nodded. I'm fine, he said, remembering Vana's lessons on human politeness. Thanks. Sara's grin softened. Good. Let's get you a drink. Fleet Street. She led them through sliding doors into a huge room packed with humans, hundreds of voices overlapping, high and low pitches blending into a chaotic buzz. Zev's ears twitched, trying to make sense of it. Sara waved them to a bar, where a burly human poured amber liquid into glasses. Bourbon, she called it. Safe for all of you? Zev took a sip, the burn hitting his throat hard. Tyner coughed, spitting half of his onto the floor. What is this garbage? He snapped. Sara raised an eyebrow. It's how we bond. Loosens you up. Try keeping it down next time. Tyner's feathers puffed up. Bond? You call this bonding? It's poison. Sara leaned in, her smile gone. It's tradition. You're guests here, so quit whining or I'll drop you in the void myself. Zev stepped between them, claws flexing. He's just not used to it, he said, shooting Tyner a warning look. We're here to learn, right? Sara eyed Tyner, then shrugged. Fine. But he's on thin ice. The tension hung thick as they drank. Sara downed her glass in one gulp, slamming it on the bar. To safe travels, she said, raising another. Zev followed her lead, the second shot hitting smoother. Tyner barely sipped, glaring at the humans around them. They're loud, crude, and stupid, he muttered to Zev. You really think they're worth studying? Zev bristled, his growl low. They've got something we don't. Look at her, she's ready to fight for us, and we just met. Sara overheard, smirking. Damn right. You're with us now, Furball. Stick around, you'll see. Tyner scoffed, turning away, but Zev felt a spark of connection. Sara was brash, sure, but she meant it. The bourbon flowed, and soon Zev's head buzzed. Sara challenged them to keep up, shot for shot. Lore melted into a puddle after 3. Tyner passed out, feathers shedding everywhere. Zev made it to 5 before curling up at Sara's feet, the room spinning. He woke with a splitting headache, sprawled in a guest room with Tyner and Lore. A wicker basket set beside him bourbon and a note from Sara, to safe travels. Next round's on you. Zev's mouth couldn't smile, but warmth spread through him. Sara's openness was real, and it stuck with him. Tyner groaned awake, glaring. She's a lunatic. You're a fool for liking her. Zev ignored him, clutching the note. The journey had just begun, and already the humans were more than he'd expected. Terra Nova loomed closer, and with it, answers, or chaos. Either way, he was ready. Zev's head still throbbed from the bourbon as he sat in the ship's common area, claws tapping the table. The hangover lingered, but Sara's note tucked into his pack kept him grounded. 2 days had passed since they'd left her patrol vessel, and Terra Nova was closed now, its signal blinking on the NAV screen. Tyner slouched nearby, feathers ruffled, muttering about human nonsense. Zev ignored him, focusing on Vana's latest briefing over the comms. "You're in their space now," she'd said. "Trust them. They'll show you what I mean." A sudden jolt cut her off. The ship rocked hard, throwing Zev against the wall. Alarms screamed, red lights flashing. "Pirates!" the captain barked through the comms. "Client raiders, shields up." Zev scrambled to his feet, heart racing. Tyner squawked, tumbling over his chair, while Lore oozed into a corner, trembling. Zev rushed to the viewport. Outside, a dozen green ships swarmed wide-winged, bristling with cannons. Pulsing rays slammed into their shields, each hit shaking the hull like a drum. "They're after us," Zev growled. "Elites like us are prime targets." Vana appeared at his side, her 5 eyes steady, no tongue flicking this time. "We're in human space," she said calmly. "Just wait." Zev frowned, glancing at her. "Wait for what?" "We're sitting ducks." Before she could answer, the comms crackled. "This is Captain Miles, Terra Nova Defense. Hang tight, we've got this." Zev pressed his face to the glass. A single human ship burst from a nearby gas cloud, cannons blazing. Explosions lit up the void, rocking the client fleet. Zev's jaw dropped. 1 ship against 12? Insane. Miles' voice boomed again. "Keep moving. We'll handle these clowns. Safe travels." The human ship dove into the fray, firing with precision. Zev watched, stunned, as client vessels sparked and spun out of control. One shattered into debris, then another. Tyner shoved past him, glaring out the window. "They're reckless," he spat. "They'll get themselves killed and us too." Zev snapped back, "They're saving us, Tyner. Look." But Tyner just huffed, crossing his arms. The ship lurched again, not from an attack, but their own engines kicking in. "We're pulling out," the captain announced. Zev blinked. "What?" "They are fighting for us." Vana put a clawed hand on his shoulder. "It's protocol. We're not armed for this." "They are." Zev stared as their ship turned, leaving Miles' vessel behind. Through the comms, music blared wild, thumping notes he'd later learn were called rock. Human voices shouted over it, fierce and proud. Miles' ship kept firing, disabling pirate after pirate, until the last client craft listed helplessly, burning in the dark. Zev's claws dug into the viewport frame. They'd run. Miles hadn't. The fight faded from view, and silence settled over the ship. Tyner broke it first, his voice sharp. "See? They are crazy. Throwing their lives away for nothing. We should have fought or died with honor, not fled like cowards." Zev rounded on him, fur bristling. "They are not nothing. They are protecting us strangers. You'd rather die than learn from that." Tyner sneered. "Learn what?" "How to be stupid. Humans are a threat, Zev. They'll drag us all down." Vana stepped in, her tone cutting. "Enough. You're here to study, not judge. Miles just proved my point, humans act when no one else will." Tyner rolled his eyes, but Zev couldn't let it go. "He's wrong," he said, pointing at Tyner. "You saw it. 1 ship took on 12. That's not chaos. That's strength." Tyner laughed, a harsh chirp. "Strength? It's madness. You're drinking their poison already, figuratively and literally. Zev growled, stepping closer. Maybe you're just scared of what you don't understand. The argument hung there, heavy and unresolved. Vana watched, silent now, her eyes flicking between them. Zev turned back to the viewport, the stars streaking past as they sped toward Terra Nova. Miles' courage gnawed at him. Vana had said humans bonded fast, sacrificed without hesitation. He'd seen it now, first with Sara's warmth, then Miles' fight. But Tyner's words stuck too. Was it madness? Zev didn't know yet, but doubt crept in, not about the humans, but his own crew. They'd abandoned their rescuers without a second thought. What did that say about them? Later, alone in his bunk, Zev replayed the attack. The client ships had targeted them, valuable cargo, elite students. Miles hadn't cared who they were, he'd jumped in anyway. Zev's tail twitched, restless. Tyner could scoff all he wanted, but Zev felt it a pull toward these humans, their insane, fearless ways. Terra Nova was hours away now. He'd meet more of them soon, live among them. Tyner might never get it, but Zev would. He had to. Vana's questions bonding, family burned brighter than ever, and the answers were out there, waiting. Zev stepped off the ship onto Terra Nova, his claws clicking against the platform. The air hit him hard, salty, warm, nothing like Zoryn's icy bite. Sara was there to meet them, her grin back in place, though her eyes looked tired. "Welcome to my turf," she said, waving at the sprawling city behind her. It floated on a vast ocean, buildings bobbing gently on the waves. Zev's group, minus a few who'd bailed after the pirate attack, followed her to their new home, a cramped apartment in Sara's family compound. Tyner muttered something about human filth, but Zev tuned him out. He was here to learn, not complain. Sara's family took them in like they'd always belonged. Her mom, a wiry woman with gray streaks in her hair, shoved plates of food at them, spicy stuff that burned Zev's tongue but tasted good. Her younger brother, a lanky kid named Dax, kept asking Zev about Zoryn, wide-eyed and chatty. Sara herself was their host, their guide, and Zev realized fast their protector. "Stick with me," she told him one night, handing him a beer. "This place can chew you up if you're not careful." Zev sipped the drink, liking her more every day. Vana checked in weekly via comms, her voice crackling over the line. "Tell me what you're seeing," she'd say, her 5 eyes glinting on the screen. Zev started with the basics. Humans worked hard, laughed loud, and fought over dumb stuff like who got the last bite of food. But it was the deeper things that stuck with him. One day, Dax fell off a dock, thrashing in the water. Sara dove in without a second thought, hauling him out, soaked and cursing. "He's my idiot brother," she said later, shrugging off Zev's stare. "You don't let family drown." Vana's stories added weight to it. "I lived with him for decades," she said once, her tongue still for a change. "A human kid called me aunt after a year. When her parents died, I grieved like they were mine." "That's their power, they pull you in." Zev nodded, thinking of Sara. She'd started calling him buddy after a week, slapping his shoulder like he wasn't some alien freak. It felt good, but weird. Vulper didn't do that. His kind kept their distance, even from kin. Weeks turned into months. Zev watched Sara's family bicker, hug, and fix each other's messes. He helped Dax with chores, laughed at Sara's bad jokes, and even got used to the food. But Tyner stayed sour, barely leaving the apartment. "They're loud and pointless," he'd gripe. "You're turning into one of them, Zev." Zev bristled but didn't argue. Maybe Tyner was right, he was changing. He just didn't know if that was bad. Then, one night, everything shifted. Zev found Sara on the balcony, staring at the dark water, a bottle in her hand. She didn't smile when he joined her. "You ever lose someone?" she asked, her voice low. Zev tilted his head. "Not really. My kind don't get attached like that." She snorted, taking a swig. Lucky you. I lost my dad and sister 5 years back. War with some client bastards. They bombed our old city, gone in a flash. I was off-world, couldn't do a damn thing. Zev froze, his tail stilling. He'd never heard her sound like this, raw, broken. I'm sorry, he said, the human phrase feeling clumsy in his mouth. Sara shook her head. Don't be. Just listen. That's why I'm here, why I fight. Humans don't let go. We can't. You're part of that now, Zev. My crew, my family, they'd die for you. I would. Her eyes locked on his, fierce and wet. But your buddies? They'd ditch you in a heartbeat. I saw it with Miles. Where were you guys when he needed backup? The words hit like a punch. Zev's mind flashed to the pirate attack, Miles fighting alone, their ship running. Sara was right. His crew hadn't hesitated to bail. That's not me, he said, voice tight. I'd have stayed. Sara stared at him, then nodded. Maybe. Prove it someday. 'Cause I'm not losing anyone else. She stood, tossing the bottle into the sea. Get some sleep, buddy. Big day tomorrow. Zev didn't sleep. Sara's story churned in his head. Her family was gone, yet she'd built a new one, her crew, her brother, even him. Vulper didn't work that way. If his parents died, he'd move on, no tears. But Sara's pain, her loyalty, it stuck with him. Tyner's voice echoed too, you're turning into one of them. Was he? And if he was, what did that mean for his own kind? Terra Nova wasn't just a study anymore, it was a choice. Stay loyal to Zoryn, or let these humans pull him in deeper. He didn't have an answer yet, but Sara's words wouldn't let him go. Zev woke to the sound of alarms blaring through the apartment. His fur stood on end, claws flexing as he bolted upright. Sara burst in, her face hard, a gun strapped to her hip. Get up, she barked. Your buddy Tyner's gone nuts, he's hijacked the research ship with half your crew. They're trashing the project. Zev's stomach dropped. He'd seen Tyner's hate festering for months, but this... He scrambled after Sara, tail lashing, as she yelled into a comms device. Miles, lock down the docks. We've got a mutiny. They raced to the hangar, the floating city trembling under their feet. Zev's mind spun. Tyner had been ranting about humans for weeks, calling them a plague, but Zev hadn't thought he'd snap like this. Sara shoved him into a small shuttle, her brother Dax already at the controls. Move it, kid, she snapped. Dax floored it, the craft screaming toward the research ship docked a mile out. Zev gripped the seat, claws digging in. Why is he doing this? He growled. Sara's jaw tightened. He wants you gone, thinks humans are corrupting you. Guess he's half right. The ship loomed ahead, its hull scarred from fresh blasts. Tyner's voice crackled over an open channel, shrill and furious. Humans are a disease. We're ending this farce. Zoryn doesn't need their filth. Zev snarled, slamming the comms button. Tyner, stop this. You're gonna get us all killed. Tyner laughed, a jagged chirp. Too late, Zev. You picked them over us. Now you'll pay. The line cut out, and the shuttle rocked as a cannon blast grazed them. Sara cursed, shoving Dax aside to take the helm. Hold on, she yelled, banking hard to dodge another shot. The shuttle slammed into the ship's docking bay, metal screeching. Zev tumbled out, Sara right behind him, gun drawn. Inside, chaos reigned. Students loyal to Tyner fired at human guards, sparks flying. Zev spotted Tyner near the control deck, feathers puffed, a stolen blaster in his claws. There! Zev roared, charging through the fray. Sara covered him, shots ringing out as she dropped two of Tyner's goons. Zev tackled Tyner, slamming him into the deck. Feathers flew as they grappled, claws slashing. You're insane! Zev shouted, pinning Tyner's arm. This won't fix anything. Tyner thrashed, his beak snapping at Zev's throat. You're the traitor. Siding with these apes, they'll ruin us all. Zev growled, slamming Tyner's head down. They're better than you'll ever be. But Tyner twisted free, firing a wild shot that grazed Zev's shoulder, blood matting his fur. Sara lunged in, kicking the blaster from Tyner's grip. Enough, she snapped, aiming her gun at his chest. Tyner froze, panting, but his eyes burned with hate. You'll regret this, human, he hissed. Before Sara could reply, the ship lurched, a deep groan echoing through the hull. Alarms screamed louder. Core breach. Dax yelled from the comms. Someone rigged the reactor. Zev's heart sank. Tyner's crew had gone all in. This was a suicide play. Sara grabbed Zev's arm, dragging him toward the shuttle. We're out of here, she shouted. But Tyner lunged, tackling her. They hit the floor hard, wrestling for her gun. Zev roared, diving at Tyner, but a deafening blast cut him off. The reactor room exploded, fire ripping through the ship. Zev crashed into a wall, ears ringing. Through the smoke, he saw Sara pin Tyner, her face grim. Go, she yelled at Zev, shoving Tyner off. I'll hold it. Zev staggered up, coughing. No, come with me. Sara shook her head, shoving him toward the shuttle. Ship's toast. Someone's gotta slow the meltdown. Get Dax out. The floor buckled, flames licking closer. Zev hesitated, claws flexing, but Sara's eyes locked on his fierce, unyielding. Your family, Zev. Live. She slammed a panel shut, sealing herself in with Tyner as the core roared. Zev stumbled back, heart pounding, and ran. The shuttle was a blur, Dax screaming, the ship collapsing behind them. They barely cleared the blast radius when the research vessel blew, a fireball lighting up the ocean. Zev stared out the window, chest tight, Sara's words echoing, your family. She died for him, for a stranger turned kin. Tyner was gone too, his hate swallowed by the flames he'd lit. Back on Terra Nova, Zev sat in the wreckage's shadow, Dax sobbing beside him. Miles landed nearby, his face grim. She was the best, he said, clapping Zev's shoulder. Zev didn't reply. Sara's sacrifice burned in him, but so did Tyner's betrayal. He'd fought for her, for humans, but his own kind had forced this. Loyalty to Zoryn felt hollow now. Sara had given him something deeper, something he couldn't name. The cost was too high, and the rift inside him too wide. Terra Nova wasn't done with him yet. Zev stood on Zoryn's frozen soil, the cold biting through his fur after 50 years on Terra Nova. His red-black coat was thinner now, streaked with gray, and his ears drooped slightly. The city loomed ahead, dark, silent, a stark contrast to the noisy chaos of Sara's world. He'd left Dax behind, now a grown man with a family of his own, and Miles, still commanding ships with that same grit. Sara's death haunted him, a scar that never faded. 50 years of living among humans, laughing, fighting, grieving had changed him. But now he was back, and Vana had summoned him. She waited in her old lecture hall, older but sharp as ever, her 5 eyes glinting. You've done it, she said, voice steady, no tongue flicking. 50 years with them. Tell me what you learned. Zev sat, claws tapping the desk. Humans bond like nothing else, he started, his growl softer now. Sara died for me, called me family. They'll kill for you, die for you, even if you're a stranger. It's messy, crazy, but real. Vana nodded, like she'd expected that. And you're kind, she pressed. Zev hesitated, Tyner's face flashing in his mind. We don't. We run. We cut ties. I didn't see it till Terra Nova. Vana leaned closer, her gaze piercing. That's why I sent you. I lived it too, lost myself in their world, came back with answers. You're the bridge, Zev. You'll teach Zoryn what family means, make us better. Zerv frowned, tail twitching. A bridge. Vana's eyes narrowed. Yes. I planned it, picked you, pushed you. Humans taught you what we can't. Now you'll spread it here. It's your purpose. Her words hit hard, cold as the air outside. Zerv's fur bristled. You planned this? Sara's death, Tyner's mess, all some experiment. Vana didn't flinch. Not their choices, but yours. I knew you'd bond with them. It's why you're here alive, changed. Zoryn needs that spark. You'll connect us to humans, and our isolation. Zerv stood, claws scraping the floor. You manipulated me. 50 years, and I'm just a tool. Vana's tongue flicked once, a crack in her calm. A tool for good. Think of the galaxy peace, unity. You've seen their strength. Share it. Zerv paced, Sara's voice echoing, your family, Zerv. Live. He'd fought for her, lost her, and now Vana wanted him to sell that pain to Zoryn. He thought of Dax's kids calling him uncle, Miles' gruff respect, the humans who'd taken him in. Then Tyner, hate-filled, dead by his own hand. Zoryn didn't want this. His kind prized distance, survival. They'd shun him, call him soft, human-tainted. Vana's dream sounded noble, but it wasn't his. No, he said, voice low. I'm not your puppet. Vana's eyes widened. You'd waste it. 50 years, their lessons gone. Zerv shook his head. Not wasted. I lived it. But I'm done being used. You want a bridge? Build it yourself. He turned, ignoring her protests, and walked out. The hall's silence followed him, heavy as the ice outside. He didn't go home, didn't have one anymore. Zoryn felt alien now, its people cold, detached. Terra Nova had burned too deep into him. Days later, Zerv found a cave in the outer wastes, a forgotten nook where the wind howled. He settled there, alone, his fur blending with the shadows. No humans, no Vulpera, just him and his thoughts. Sara's sacrifice replayed endlessly, a gift and a curse. Tyner's betrayal stung too, a reminder of what Zoryn was. Vana had wanted a hero, a savior. But Zerv wasn't that. He was a guy who'd found family, lost it, and couldn't fit anywhere now. He scratched a mark on the cave wall, one for Sara, one for Dax, one for Miles. Family, he muttered, the word tasting bitter. Humans gave it freely, died for it. Zoryn didn't even know it. Vana thought he'd bridged that gap, but both worlds had turned their backs, one too distant, the other gone. Zerv lay down, staring at the marks. What was family when you had no one left? He didn't know. Maybe he never would. The wind wailed outside, and he closed his eyes, letting the question hang unanswered in the dark. And that's it for Zerv's journey, alone, questioning what family really means after 50 years with humans. What do you think? Would you bridge two worlds or walk away like he did? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I read every one. If you love this HFY ride, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell for more sci-fi space adventures. See you in the next galaxy.